The relationship between Cambodia and Thailand, it's a long one, and it's really complicated. Today, we're going to unpack that history, drawing on an analysis from historian Raoul Marc Jennar. And what he says, well, it might just challenge everything you thought you knew.
All right, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at the story most people hear versus a very different historical account. Then, we'll go way back, through centuries of conflict, into the modern era of a tense independence and a really controversial connection to the Khmer Rouge. After that, we'll cover the border disputes you might have seen in the news, and finally, we'll see where all this leaves us.
All right, let's get straight to the heart of the matter. The whole argument here really hinges on this huge contrast between the way Thailand is often seen on the world stage and what this particular historian says actually happened.
And this is really the core of it right here. On the one hand, you've got this common image of Thailand as, a peace-loving country, a nation that plays by the rules of international law. But then you look at the historical record, at least according to Jennar, and it tells a completely different story. We're talking about a history, he says, is filled with aggression and consistent violations of Cambodian sovereignty.
So to really understand this, we have to go back, way back. We're talking nearly 1,000 years of history here, long before the maps looked the way they do today.
So this analysis lays out this long timeline of conflict. It all kicks off back in the 12th century, when Siam, what we now call Thailand, started launching attacks into Khmer territory. And this wasn't just a one-off thing. This period of aggression apparently went on for centuries. The only thing that really put a pause on it was when the French showed up as a colonial power. They're the ones who drew the lines on the map with treaties in 1904 and 1907. Okay, so fast forward. The French are gone, and Cambodia gets its independence back in 1953. So what happens next? You might think things would calm down, right? Well, according to this source, the conflict didn't just pick back up where it left off. It actually evolved into something new.
Yeah, Jennar points to a whole list of hostile actions. He says Thailand flat out refused to recognize Cambodia's neutrality, that they actively tried to destabilize the government using militias, that they started laying landmines along the border. And it doesn't stop there. The source also alleges Thailand backed the 1970 coup against Sihanouk and, get this, was the very first nation in the world to formally recognize the Khmer Rouge when they took power in '75.
All right, now we're getting into a really dark and, frankly, very controversial part of this story. The analysis we're looking at makes some incredibly serious claims about what Thailand did after the Khmer Rouge were finally thrown out of power in 1979.
So picture this. Pol Pot's regime has fallen. Tens of thousands of Cambodians, desperate for safety, are fleeing for their lives toward the Thai border. You'd expect them to find refuge, right? Well, this account alleges the exact opposite happened. The Thai forces actually pushed these refugees right back over the border.
And it wasn't just sending them back. The claim is that they were forced directly into areas that were known to be full of landmines. It's just horrific to even think about. Jennar, he doesn't hold back at all. He calls it, and this is a direct quote, a genuine crime against humanity.
And you'd think that would be the end of it, but no. Even after the big Paris peace accords were signed in 1991, the thing that was supposed to end the war for good, Jennar says Thailand kept violating the deal. We're talking about claims of supporting what was left of the Khmer Rouge, capturing UN peacekeepers, illegally shifting border posts, and even cashing in on resources like timber and gems from areas still controlled by the Khmer Rouge.
Okay, let's bring this into the 21st century, to a conflict some of you might actually remember seeing in the news. Tensions exploded again, and this time, the flashpoint was a single, ancient, and incredibly important place, the Preah Vihear temple. So, starting around 2008, things got really heated. The source claims the Thai military launched multiple attacks on the area around the temple. Tragically, these attacks are said to have killed Cambodian civilians. There are even allegations that they used cluster bombs, which are banned internationally. In the end, Cambodia had to take the fight to the International Court of Justice. And in 2013, the court sided with them, confirming that the area belonged to Cambodia.
So, where does all this leave us? What's the big takeaway from Jennar's analysis? Well, the most crucial point is that he doesn't see any of this as ancient history. For him, it's very much a live issue.
And this is where the source makes a really provocative claim about what's happening right now. The text specifically says that since May 28, 2025, the Thai army has repeatedly attacked Cambodia. Now, obviously, that date is in the future, so it looks like a typo in the original text, probably for a recent year. But let's focus on the core of the claim. that even in our modern era, the Thai army has been violating ceasefires and launching attacks, and that, crucially, the major world powers have basically just looked the other way.
So, when it's all said and done, the author isn't just offering up his opinion or one possible way of looking at things. No, he frames this entire story as a direct statement of fact. He wraps up his analysis by saying that everything he's presented is, quote, the historical truth of this incredibly complicated and often violent relationship.
Which really leaves us with a big, important question to chew on, doesn't it? What we've looked at today, this analysis from Jennar, it presents a history that completely clashes with the more common narrative. So it makes you wonder, when you have two stories that are so different, how are we supposed to make sense of what's happening right now, let alone what might happen next?